On Founders Day, we celebrate and remember the work of those school leaders, members of staff and students who have come before us. Each year, Mrs. Clark, our headmistress, chooses a particular theme or subject and traces its influence on the school through time so that we can see how connected we are to our past and how extraordinary and special North London Collegiate truly is. This is the second time that the coronavirus pandemic has interrupted our plans for Founders Day, but humans are so adaptable. Over the past few months, whilst our lives have been so disrupted by the need to remain apart, there has been an explosion in the use of technology here at North London Collegiate. We've been able to teach online, keep up with friends, if not quite in person, but certainly face to face. And last term, we enjoyed a remote harvest festival, our play Mary Poppins and the Nativity. When this pandemic is past, and it will pass, I wonder if we'll snap back to our pre-COVID lives. In many respects, we will, of course. But I think, wouldn't it be a shame if we missed the opportunity to learn from our experience? For one thing, the pandemic has encouraged us to change our habits. We've managed without so many things. No shopping, no holidays, no running to after-school activities. Many girls have learnt to ride bikes, to bake, to create and to play at home. In this year's Founders Day address, I want to tell you some stories from the past about how North Londoners have responded to matters relating to their environment. In our early days, the school addressed concerns about overcrowding in classrooms, worries about the ever-increasing pollution in the air around Camden and the noise pollution from the traffic, and even about the drains and use of water on the school site. Then later in the school's history, an opportunity presented itself to buy the site here at Cannons so that the girls and staff could escape the chaos and smog of London town for the green fields and healthier environment of the Duke of Chandos's estate. I also want to tell you about the students and ONLs who have made an impact in or a contribution to the fields of climate-related research and activism, and how the school has begun to consider how it could mitigate its impact in terms of our carbon footprint on the planet. And finally, I want to end on the work that is being done today and our plans for the future. In this way, I hope to illustrate how the environment has affected the development of our school and how, in turn, our school has affected and hopefully will continue to impact positively on the environment in the future. The early days, 1850 to 1927. The environment of our school was always a consideration for the founder. Frances Mary Buss travelled widely. She reported back to her staff and students about her travels in much the same way that Mrs. Newman and I talk in our assemblies about what we have done on our holidays. North London was initially established in the Buss family home, which you can see in these pictures. As the school began to grow, it became obvious that the numbers of girls wanting to take advantage of Miss Buss's education were too great to be accommodated in a semi-detached townhouse. Overcrowding had an impact on the quality of practical work that the girls could undertake, for example, science experiments and art, as well as impacting on the amount of space for games and other forms of physical activity, something dear to Miss Buss's heart, even if it appalled some of her students' parents at the time. Arrangements were made to move the school to a larger site in Camden Road, but it was very clear from the start that such a move could only be a temporary stopgap. By 1871, the school was bursting at the seams again, and in 1879, the school moved to Sandal Road. And Camden School for Girls, the other school established by Miss Buss, moved into the Camden Road site, also filling to the brim with students. The school buildings could simply not accommodate the number of students who wished to study there, and in 1904, the Camden School received a final notice requiring them to completely upgrade their waste and water systems. The notice speaks of leaking pipes, inadequate systems, and the need for bath apparatus to be repaired, and the headmistress's lavatory was condemned as being defective. Shocking stuff. In 1906, an inspection report on the Camden Road site deplored the lack of ventilation in the gymnasium, and the headmistress replied with some asperity and no logic that the door to the gymnasium was often kept open, but this had not been possible during the inspector's visit. There were more frustrations with the Sandal Road site as far as the staff and students were concerned. But Miss Buss was a pioneer in other directions, encouraging gymnastics, skating, hockey and athletics. She incorporated in the new buildings the first gymnasium designed for a girls' school and obtained the use of the St Pancras baths, but her proposal to make the girls really bold swimmers by capsizing a boat in open water was not adopted. She started a school sports day and, in the interest of dress reform, organised a tug-of-war between girls who wore stays and those who did not. The latter won. Miss Buss had little time for fainting girls who she recommended the cold water treatment for. She also encouraged the more usual accomplishments such as art, music, needlework, cookery and handicrafts. It wasn't just the number of students vying to join the school that caused the conditions to be ever more cramped, and there was a recollection in the school magazine of 1941. The school became famous for its science teaching, but no thought or care could lessen the noise of the stream of motor transport which now passed up and down the Camden Road, nor diminish the dust and dirt which came in through the windows. Cannons, 1927 to 1940. NLCS legend says that in 1927, Isabella Drummond travelled on the recently extended Northern Line and found the Cannons estate while taking a Sunday stroll in the countryside. Excited by what she found at the end of Cannons Drive, Miss Drummond spent the next 12 years securing the funds and support of the governors for the whole school to move out of Edgware. What attracted Miss Drummond to Cannons? Simply the environment. The Duke of Chandos, James Bridges, had developed the Cannons estate in the 17th century, designing it with long vistas of managed parkland, as well as smaller, manicured gardens, both for the kitchen and for gentle strolls on beautiful days. Coffee and pineapple were grown for the Duke and for his guests' pleasure. When Miss Drummond came on the Chandos estate, she could see that the house and gardens at Cannons would provide enough space for her students to enjoy biology, English, physical education and art one day a week. Despite the journey, the girls were eager to go to the old house and enjoy its gardens and trees. Our school archive is full of happy reminiscences about the early days at Cannons. The girls swam in the pond, searched for wildlife in its edges, and performed a Midsummer Night's Dream in the grounds and under the great cedar tree. The school deserves full credit for improving the working environment for its staff and students. Through the vision of headmistresses Buss, Bryant and Drummond, the girls had over time been removed from the dangers and risks of poor, heavy traffic and challenging sanitation. As Mrs. Clanchy stated in her Founders' Day address in 1989, "We give thanks that we have inherited Cannons as our workplace, that we still look out on the trees, that the moorhens are still here, that the mallards and geese still come. But with our inheritance comes obligations." Thus far in my story today, I have shown the response of our school towards the environmental threats was largely to remove itself from them, but that is not the full story. There are many Old North Londoners who have been involved in research and activism. Whilst I do not want to argue that Miss Buss was an environmentalist, we can find examples of how she and her successors sought to encourage our students to care about the world around them and to take steps to change it. One such example is the establishment of a branch of the Kyrle Society at North London Collegiate School. The Kyrle Society was founded by Octavia and Miranda Hill in 1875 in order to lift the spirits and life experiences of the poorer classes in industrial towns through the conservation of derelict open spaces into peaceful and relaxing gardens. Always one to grasp new ideas quickly, Miss Buss agreed to divert a little money from the school's funds to enable her girls to have their own garden spaces, even indoors, inspired by the movement. There was a distinct understanding that the students would benefit from being closer to the natural world, and in typical North London fashion, that was often represented in a very scientific way, for example, by taking measurements such as weather recordings. Here are some students of the school in 1921 and 22 taking readings from their new equipment. The students at North London have always cared for their surroundings, and they're examples of early forms of what we now might call environmental activism. Do you remember the hat that Neville Longbottom's Bogart Snape wore in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban? This fashion for wearing dead birds on hats was the very real thing in Victorian England. And in 1890, the school magazine printed an appeal to ladies against wearing feathers, a leaflet by Professor Tomlinson from the Selborne Society, an early Victorian animal rights organisation. The girls at North London were clearly throwing themselves into the campaign to stop this harmful practice. More recent campaigners in the 20th and 21st century include numbers of our students and ONLs who have made their mark in the effort to reform our behaviour and challenge us to lead more sustainable and eco-friendly lives. The school magazines are a mine of information. Through their pages over time, you can see that matters relating to ecological campaigning mattered a great deal to our students in the last 50 years. For example, in 1991, the Earth Action Society campaigned for paper recycling and fuel efficiency. 3 years later, the whole magazine was dedicated to green issues. The school had a recycling igloo and car sharing rotors for the first time. So much work had been done by the school community, in fact, that North London actually won the Greenest School in London award and was able to send a student to New York to collect her prize and represent the UK at a global summit. Here is Amy Nathan, who in 2008 challenged the school to use reusable coffee mugs, something that it is hard to imagine not doing nowadays. And 2 years later, in 2010, our Parents Guild invited everyone to take part in a mobile phone recycling scheme. In 2011, our archive shows a number of environmental projects which were led in particular by girls from Year 8. Mary Rice, the Executive Director of the Environmental Investigation Agency, visited the school to speak about a range of illegal activities, from the ivory trade to unregulated logging and deforestation, which her organisation was helping to monitor and stop, often putting themselves in danger as they did so. Passionate interest in environmental issues led to the creation of the wildlife mural on our dining room walls, as well as the foundation of various clubs and societies from the first school to the sixth form, which sought to draw attention to the destruction and exploitation of the natural world. Our archive is also full of examples of Old North Londoners who have contributed to the field of environmental activism, either through charity work or the future. And now to the future. What does our future hold in environmental terms? Once this pandemic has passed and life returns to normal, will we leap back into our destructive habits again when we are freer to travel, to shop and consume? How will North London Collegiate School continue to lead the way in encouraging and enabling environmental change? All of the hard work of individuals in the past, both students, staff and ONLs, is hugely impressive. But despite the enthusiasm of individuals and small groups, it lacked a coherent vision. 3 months ago, we launched our environmental strategy, the overall aim of which is to become carbon neutral as an institution by 2030. With a community of over 1,000 people, old and listed buildings, an extensive transport network, international commitments, and a huge site, this is no small task. Our strategy covers 5 areas. Firstly, community engagement and participation. Our pupils will be actively working towards environmental goals, from reusing and recycling through to suggesting technological innovations to help us reduce our carbon footprint. Secondly, energy consumption. We will install double glazing and insulation to bring our listed buildings to the required standards by 2026. We will also investigate ways to generate more of our energy on site. Thirdly, travel. We aim to reduce the car journeys to and from school to improve the quality of our local environment. NLCS already offsets all its business travel by investing in local environmental projects. All overseas trips that necessitate air travel now include a small fee to offset flight emissions. Students have voted on the organisation they wish to use for offsetting and chose Trees for Life, a charity working to rewild the Scottish Highlands. Fourthly, waste, water and food. We will continue to monitor resource use and continue to provide straightforward recycling infrastructure. Food waste and water management plans are being developed, and we will ensure our cleaning products and the chemicals used in gardens, such as fertilisers, are as low impact as possible. Fifthly, biodiversity. We will continue to care for and protect the biodiversity of our school site. Cannons is such a precious resource, and the diversity of its wildlife and plant life is something to be carefully protected and managed, both to enable future generations to understand the importance of nature and the natural world, and also as a vital area of green space in an otherwise very urban environment. The last point reminds me of something written by ONL Stella Gibbons in her article from 1938 about our move to Cannons, away from the smog and pollution of Camden. An old North Londoner, wandering under the great chestnut trees and watching the girls sprinting across the ancient lawns in their well-cut shorts after the hockey ball, cannot help wondering what Miss Buss would have said to it all. Then she reflects a little, and cannot helping that Miss Buss would have been delighted, because her girls are so happy in the unself-conscious freedom that she helps to win for them. Our past is important to us. It provides a context for our work and a confidence that we are all walking in the footsteps of extraordinary women. But of course, it is the future that truly matters. However, there are significant technological challenges in the fight to address climate change. Who will be the first to discover a wholly new replacement material for plastics? When we'll be able to charge our electric cars as quickly as filling up a conventional fuel tank? And who will find the way to achieve commercially viable nuclear fusion? But it strikes me that the physiological challenge is even greater. The behavioural change that is being asked of all of us at this time right now is huge, but it is one that we are able to address. Many of the changes that we need to put in place in order to reduce our carbon footprint require all of us to change our habits and alter our mindsets. Can we share cars? Remember our drinking water bottles? Stop choosing fast fashion? Switch the lights off and turn down our heating? Bring shopping bags to Sainsbury's? Take the train rather than fly? Buy less? Recycle more? The COVID-19 pandemic is teaching us so much about our ability to use strength and empathy and determination to support each other through this period of difficulty and challenge. We must use those same skills and abilities to meet the new threat with energy, deliberation and imagination, qualities that North Londoners possess in abundance. Climate change is a threat of such order that we must act now. It is a responsibility and a challenge that we will not shy away from. So, on this Founders' Day, so unusual and unprecedented, we should embrace the opportunity to take strong and determined action on behalf of our environment, knowing that this commitment reflects part of our history as a school too. North Londoners have always cared about their surroundings and sought to effect positive change, at first for themselves and the school as an institution. But later, and certainly in recent years, we have sought to reach more ambitious goals. Together, we can achieve them and help to build a better world for all of us. Happy Founders' Day, everyone. I wish you all health and happiness for the future. I'd now like to invite the Year 2 staff to join me for the Founders' Day prayer.
Now let us bow our head and thank God for our founder, her family and all those who have given so generously to us at North London Collegiate School.
First, we remember Frances Mary Buss, who in 1850 founded a school for girls in North London. The school flourished under her care for 44 years.
We thank God for the work of the founder's family. Her mother, Frances Buss, who made the nurture of the younger children her special care. Her father, Robert William Buss, who taught science and art. Her brother, Septimus Buss, who taught scripture.
After the founder's family, we thankfully remember Sophie Bryant, who worked with the founder and then continued as headmistress for 23 years.
After her, Isabella Drummond was headmistress for 22 years. It was chiefly due to her that we now enjoy the beauty of our present home here at Cannons.
Eileen Harold took care of the school during the difficult days of the Second World War.
After her, Kitty Anderson, headmistress for 21 years, worked with warmth and tireless enthusiasm to further the cause of education at North London and beyond.
Then Madeline McLaughlin, who was headmistress for 20 years, helped to build a family school, and she encouraged the development of music and drama.
After her, Joan Clanchy, headmistress for 12 years, encouraged the growth of a community in which each individual could flourish. It was during her time as headmistress that the first school was opened.
And after her, Bernice McCabe, headmistress for 20 years, who led this school with drive and ambition, creating a happy community and fostering academic independence and aspiration, whose belief in the transformational power of the performing arts enabled girls to grow in confidence, and whose vision underpinned the development of this school's international profile.
Let us thank God for the many benefactors of the school who have given us great gifts and wise counsel throughout the years. They are to be remembered now and in time to come. Amen.
Amen. Year 2, would you please remain standing for God be in my head, for the Lord's Prayer and for the Daffodil Psalm.
God be in my heart. Oh no, I can't see the file. My screen's gone all black. What am I supposed to do now? Ugh, Arlie, stop sending me gifts. I keep getting notifications and I've got to join my maths lesson in a moment.
Mrs. Marks, I can't see you. I think your webcam is off.
No, Tabitha, it's your internet connection. I can see Mrs. Marks fine.
I don't think any of your webcams are working properly. You're all glitchy and frozen.
Tabitha, it's your internet connection.
I can't really hear you, Aisha. Something's wrong with your mic.
Tabitha, try leaving the call and joining.
Lottie, you sound like you're in an aquarium or you've turned into a robot.
Try leaving the call and joining again.
I can't hear anyone. Oh, maybe it's my internet connection. Don't worry, guys. I think it's my internet connection. I've got a really good idea. I'll try leaving the call and joining again.
I can't wait till this round of lockdown is over. I just want to see my friends and teachers, not interact through a screen.
I'm so sick of all the guidelines about what you can do. Every time you get used to something, it changes.
I can't believe how much everything's changed. This time last year, I thought COVID was just a flu or mispronunciation of David.
At online school, I get to spend more time with my dog, and I can sleep in because I don't have to get a coach. I can even wear my slippers in lessons. But I'm still worried. There's so much going on in the world that I want to change, but I don't know how. I'm so worried about how much pollution we're still creating.
I'm worried about all the single-use products we still have.
I just want to be able to do normal stuff, like have a birthday party with my friends in my house. I can't even think of how to make the world a better place and everything feels so strange. It's too difficult. Some of these problems are just too big. I don't know what I can do.
Dear, oh dear. That doesn't sound like the resilience I'm used to in North London, girl.
Excuse me, who are you?
I'm Frances Mary Buss, the founder of North London Collegiate School.
I just got back onto the call. What's going on? Mrs. Marks, your webcam is definitely not working properly. You've got a weird filter on and you look like Frances Mary Buss.
She seems to have played in our living room.
Now, girls, did you know that by special Valentine's Day magic, I'm normally conjured up around this time of year, wherever NLCS is?
What do you mean, wherever NLCS is?
Do you mean the international branches of NLCS? Not only that, our school has been located in so many different places. I started the school in my home before it moved to buildings in Sandal Road. Later, when Isabella Drummond was the headmistress, she moved the school to the beautiful site at Cannons.
So you mean the school isn't the actual place where we have our lessons?
Exactly. The school is a community, all the pupils and teachers and the way we work together.
I kind of know what you mean. It is North London, whether we're at home sitting at our computers or in our classrooms. The feeling of us and LCS all together is still there.
North London Collegiate has always adapted no matter how difficult the circumstances were.
Please don't tell me to be resilient. I always think it means grown-ups want me to pretend I don't mind about things.
It doesn't mean that at all. Allow yourself to mind, and then think how you will manage. Have a look at these pupils and teachers during the Second World War.
Am I in the right team? I think I've ended up in a history webinar. Maybe I should try logging off and on again.
At the beginning of the Second World War, children in Britain was evacuated from the big cities to keep them safe. Us children were sent away from our parents to live in the countryside with foster parents to be safe and away from bombs that hit town. Half the school was evacuated to Luton in 1939. Our parents saw us off to school with a blanket and a gas mask. When we arrived in Luton, one of our teachers introduced us to the people who wanted to look after evacuated children. And we went usually in pairs to live in their houses. All the North London Collegiate girls and teachers who were evacuated met in a local park and had lessons sitting on the concrete steps. In May 1940, we were allowed to return home and we went back to school. But by now, the school had moved from Sandal Road in Camden to Cannons. While we were away, building work had been done in the site of Cannons. And we returned to new school buildings and grounds that we loved, including, of course, Big Cedar. We felt so lucky to have such a magnificent playground. We used to climb extremely high up in the cedar tree.
Even though we lived at home and going to school, life wasn't like it had been. Every time we heard an air raid siren, we had to stop our lessons and file down to the cloakroom to be safe from the bombs.
A lot of us had dads or brothers who were away fighting in the army or the navy.
And the food wasn't the same. The food was rationed and people were encouraged to grow their own vegetables.
Here at Cannons, the head gardener and 80 volunteers dug vegetable patches in our ground. We grew enough potatoes and other vegetables for school lunches. I was mostly happy with what I was served.
We normally had things like sweet pudding, rabbit stew, and sponges with custard.
But we also whale mistakes were horrible. Before the war, we would have played and talked while we were waiting for lessons to begin. But when clothes were rationed, we started knitting clothes for the soldiers and their families. I was really proud of the yellow pelters or baby clothes I used to knit for tiny babies. We all came to realize that NLCS wasn't a school, wasn't a building with classrooms and libraries. It didn't consist of girls sitting at desks. NLCS was us, and school would continue no matter where we were.
So you see, no matter how difficult or strange things are, North London girls and teachers have always adapted just like you have during the pandemic.
Okay, I understand what you mean about resilience, but Miss Buss, we want to help, especially with the environment, but we don't know what.
Here at NLCS, we have always found a way to make a difference, even when things are challenging. Let me introduce you to some North Londoners who cared about the environment, just like you.
I'm Isabella Drummond, and sure you know me. I was headmistress here from 1918 to 1940. I decided that we should move the school from Camden to Cannons. Camden was becoming very dusty, dirty, noisy, full of traffic and factories. I knew the girls needed more space to enjoy fresh air, the freedom of movement, and the joy of colour, and a sense of space and quiet. I'm Vera Essex. In 1910, I was privileged to hear Sir Ernest Shackleton tell the story of his expedition from 1907 to 1909. Inspired by these stories, I wrote about their experiences and, according to my teachers, encouraged many of my classmates to think about the wider world and the impact they could have in the future. Hello, I am Dame Cadbury, or as Elsie Taylor, as I was known when I was at NLCS from 1874 to 1876. My husband and I created the Bourneville Village for our employees at the Bourneville Chocolate Factory. We made sure each house had a large garden with at least 6 fruit trees. We wanted a healthy living environment with space to breathe. I also built a hospital in Birmingham and organised for poor children to have holidays.
I'm Samantha Cameron. I left North London Collegiate School in 1995. I volunteered with the charity Feed Back Madagascar. I helped to make sure there was clean water and women could get good jobs.
I am Patricia Davies. I went to school with Samantha in the 1990s. I created a non-profit organisation called Community Centred Conservation, or C3. We protect the marine habitat like coral reef and seagrasses. I'm Laura Yates. I was part of the Earth Action Committee in school in the 1990s. We suggested ways the school could become more eco-friendly and reduce waste and recycle more. Our school did so much, we actually won the Greenest School in London award, and I was
was sent as a student representative to New York to represent the UK in a global meeting about environmental issues.
I'm Ms. Zunk, and in 2007 I set up a regular NLCS trip to the Flying Angel School in Zambia. This school is for orphans and children living in difficult circumstances. We taught classes and helped in the school, and NLCS still supports for the Flying Angel School.
I'm Amy Nathan, and in 2008 I decided to do something about single-use coffee cups. I organised a protest outside a coffee chain and encouraged people to take their own mugs, and finally the coffee chains would listen.
But they were all grown up, or at least almost at the end of senior school. What can I do right now?
Let me show you a Founders' Day in 1989. Mrs. Clancy was the headmistress. She was very warm and passionate. Some of your mothers were at school here and even heard the speech.
When Miss Drummond brought us up to the Palisade Cannons, she did not intend that we would be spoiled princesses.
We're not spoiled princesses.
Shh! Gemma! Because this is Mrs. King. She wants us to appreciate what we have. We are squandering our inheritance if it makes us small. We are privileged, so we must serve. That's like the Founders' Day prayer, isn't it? Not just expected of those to whom much is given.
Yes, you're right.
Shh, Gemma!
Sorry, just come with a bit of a light bulb moment.
Keep your light bulbs to yourself. You're actually supposed to save energy by switching off lights.
Okay.
We must be stewards of this space. Let us today have joy in our inheritance.
A student takes care of things, right?
Right, Miss Canty wants us to take care of the school and the grounds.
And the world around us. So, girls of 2021, what are you going to do with your inheritance?
You know, my mum told me it's a big mistake to do nothing because you think you can only do something small. Okay, so it might only be a small thing, but I'm going to make sure I use all the recycling bins around school and at home. I'm going to make sure we turn off the lights and computers at home. And we can tell the teachers to do the same at school.
I'm going to try and save water at home, or have showers more than baths, and I'll try to turn the tap off when I'm brushing my teeth.
I want to reduce waste. When we locked down, we had a massive clear out, and instead of throwing away all our old toys, clothes, electronics and stuff, my mum used an app called Olio to offer it to other people.
I'm going to ask my parents to switch their engines off when they are waiting to collect me, because often they just leave their engines idling, looking at their phones. Because I know that makes too much air pollution.
You know, before I felt like I couldn't do enough. But I'm a North London girl, and I won't let my determination be dwarfed.
That's exactly what I'd hope I'd hear from the girls of 2021. Founders' Day has always been a very special time. It's a chance to look to the past and appreciate what we have been given, and look to the future and think about what we will do with it. Now, one last look back before we look forward. Some of your mothers at current Year 5 and Year 2 shared their memories of Founders' Day while they were at school here.
I just got kicked out of the call again. Something weird's going on. I keep seeing these clips from the history of the school or something. I'm having major tech issues. It's nothing to do with the tech. It's Francis Mary Bus. For me, Founders Day is always associated with the arrival of spring, with sunshine and cool, fresh air and the excitement of the holidays coming. For each of my 11 Founders Days, they all started the same way. A fracticamphor daffodil in the back garden. Each year, for several days before Founders Day, I remember discussing with my mum which daffodils I would take in and agreeing that we would go out that morning and pick them. I'd go out into the garden, get a selection, carefully wrap the stems in foil, and then I'd leave them at home so I would need to go to a neighbour's front garden, get a random selection on the way to the coach. I will always remember the hustle and bustle that happened every day before the Founders Day service.
You'd think it would be easy to remember your daffodil for that one day of the year, but unfortunately, I have memories of crouching down by the pond on my way to the loop road, plucking a little daffodil one Founder's Day. It was the 200 steps your daffodil had to stay upright all the way to school. My daffodil was rather floppy by the time I got to the daffodil possession. For once, I'll always remember that everyone made an effort to look very smart. We were taught to polish our shoes and our hair had to be tied neatly.
The junior school uniform included a tie in those days, which was worn for special occasions. It was yellow, dark blue and light blue, and I loved it.
I used to like wearing cords and Founder's Day was the only day you had to wear a tunic.
Practicing all the songs, especially To Be a Pilgrim, The Fivefold Amen, and Where'er You Walk.
I remember practicing the daffodil procession every year. And when I hear the music playing by Handel, the arrival of the Queen of Sheba, I think of Founder's Day.
My first Founder's Day seemed so long, but as I grew older, they got shorter and shorter, as it all started to make more sense.
We were each paired with a buddy and we had to walk down the school hall, which seems huge at the time.
I remember feeling like I was under a spotlight when my turn came to walk steadily towards the collectors.
You had to walk not too slow, not too fast, being sure to meet your partner at the front before peeling away.
It all seemed quite serious and a bit nerve-wracking too, walking down side by side and delivering your daffodil to the front of the room.
I remember one year catching my walking partner's eye, feeling my lip tremble. I was being so worried that I might accidentally break into giggles. You know those giggles you really don't mean to have?
It was a feeling of unity, each marching forward with the daffodils, a bright sign of hope.
The stories of the school's beginnings were always inspiring. I felt proud that North Londoners were groundbreakers and ceiling smashers. I liked being part of that history. I remember listening to the list of headmistresses. It made me feel that I was part of a community of wise and strong women who support each other.
You're right, Miss Buss. Founder's Day is such a special time. We can give thanks for our school community wherever we are.
I'm so glad you can understand. North Londoners of 2021 use that amazing resilience you have developed. Get out there, enjoy the beauty in this world, and make as many positive differences as you can.
Jeju. And I'm Max Ma.
I'm Chloe Lee.
I'm Minji Park.
I am Gianna Lee. I'm Lucy Lee. I'm Emily Huang.
I'm Ellie Fowler.
And I'm Jaden Lee.
We're the NLCS Jeju Junior School Prefects.
This year, our Founders Day is more important than usual.
We celebrate the 10th anniversary of NLCS Jeju. As your fellow NLCS students, we send you warm and happy wishes. We hope you're all healthy and happy, and you have an amazing Founders Day.
Goodbye from NLCS Jeju in South Korea.
Bye!
Hello, NLCS London.
Hello, NLCS Jeju.
Hello, NLCS Singapore. Hello from NLCS Dubai. May our Founders Day celebrations bring us all together.
Happy Founders Day! Happy Founders Day!
Welcome to Cannons, and the category is food. Sushi! Bye! And the next category is flowers. Daffodils! Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. We're the Year 6 junior leaders. And we're here at Budge, our favourite place to play. We want to wish you a very happy Founders Day. Even if things may not be the same at school right now, we still hope you have a great time. We even managed to do a daffodil procession in the grounds. We look forward to seeing your videos too. Happy Founders Day! Bye!
Hello from NLCS Singapore. Today is Friday, 19th March 2021, and in a few days' time, we will be celebrating our very first Founders Day. It is a pleasure to be a part of this ongoing tradition which celebrates and commemorates the founding of the London School back in 1850 by Francis Mary Buss.
We are stood here today in front of what is an integral part of our school in Singapore. These are the 4 trees which make up NLCS Singapore's houses: Rantan, Chengal, Caroling, and lastly Meranti. These trees are all endangered here in Singapore, and with our school's strong commitment to protecting the environment and to conservation, our house names were born. Miss Cara Owen, the British High Commissioner to Singapore, visited our